As the movie story begins, we see that a woman is running with her newborn baby. She is probably running away from someone. Then she keeps her baby outside an orphanage. She places a mysterious pan flute pendant around his neck and also leaves a letter before going. After a few years, World War was going on and the baby has grown up and he was named Peter, but the children's in this orphanage aren't getting a proper meal because of the war. Peter says to his friend Nibs, "I think the owner is quite greedy. Surely she has a lot of food but she doesn't want to give it to us." Peter and his friend decide to go into her room secretly to find out the truth. One day, Peter and Nibs break into the owner's room as soon as they get a chance. There they see a lot of food, which the owner has kept hidden for himself. They also find a large amount of money, which implies that the owner is selling children on the pretext of orphanage. Peter finds a file that surely belongs to him, from which he gets the letter that his mother had written for him. In the letter, she was declaring her love and assuring him they will meet again in this world or another. Suddenly, the children senses that someone was approaching and they start running toward their room. But the owner sees them and alleges theft on them. Peter queries about the letter that his mother left for him. But the owner starts saying wrong about his mother, on which Peter gets furious. At night when everyone was sleeping, we see some unknown people are coming from the roof and kidnapping the children's. Peter and Nibs wake up and they try to save themselves, but they've seen by the kidnappers and they take children's to a flying ship. Pirates were seen everywhere on the ship. As the ship was leaving, Nibs jumps on a roof to save himself. He also asks Peter to jump but Peter is unable to show courage and that ship goes away with him. After moving little distance, many army planes attack that flying ship and a fight breaks out between them. After a while, the flying ship comes above the clouds leaving the army planes below. Later, ship arrives in a magical world named Neverland, where many kids like Peter were mining for diamond-like object called pixum. The owner of these pirates was a cruel man named Blackbeard, who uses the substance to prevent himself from aging. Peter was also sent for mining where he encounters the manager. Peter tries to talk to him but the manager scolds and sends him to work. At night, we see Peter was sitting at a place where he sees another miner named James. Peter tries to befriend him but James says, "I don't want to befriend with anyone." Next day, while mining, Peter finds a pixum, for which he becomes very happy. When other miners comes to know that Peter found a pixum, they all try to get that crystals from him so that they can get a reward from Blackbeard. When Peter refuses to give them the crystal, they accuse Peter of robbery, that he has attempted to steal this crystal. As Blackbeard knows that Peter has tried to steal that crystal, he throws him down from a height to punish him, but suddenly he begins to float in the midway. After it he falls on the ground and faints. He finds himself in a room. When he wakes up, Blackbeard comes and inquires about his reality. Peter tells him about his past and his mom. Blackbeard also tells Peter about the native tribe's prophecy of a flying boy who would lead an uprising to kill him. Being suspicious for Peter, he sends Peter to prison. There he again meets the miner named James. This time James talks to him well and both of them become friends. James says, "Me and my companions are about to escape from jail, so you also come with us." Later, we see them escaping from the jail but the manager sees them. Peter persuades him and also convinces to come with them. Then three of them begin to run from this mining area with the help of a flying ship. Meanwhile, Blackbeard's soldiers cut the wire of their swing. Luckily they fall into a flying ship but they didn't know how to operate this ship. Because of it, their ship crashes into the jungle. Later, they continue their further journey on foot. As the night falls they start feeling hungry. Suddenly they sense a movement around them and some giant strange appearing birds attack them. They start running in order to save themselves from these birds. After covering a distance, a tribe saves them from the birds. They were taken to their tribe's king, who asked James to fight with the strongest man in our tribe. A fight between them starts and the strong man dominates. Peter feels bad to see his friend in this condition. So he steps into the ground to save his friend and he begins to fight with the strong man. During the fight, the king noticed Peter's locket. Immediately he stops the fight and tells everyone that Peter might be that savior who will save us from the cruelty of Blackbeard. Peter and his friends were released and the tribesmen apologize for their misbehaving. The king asks Peter to fly in order to check his powers and confirm the prophecy. Peter was standing on height, but again this time he could not dare and remains unable to show his power. The king rags to see this and gives him a time of 2 days. He says if you remained unable to show your powers by flying within 2 days, I'll kill you and your friends. After it, we see a magician who takes Peter into a magical room, using the memory tree. That lady tells Peter that many years ago, when the natives and fairies united against the pirates, the fairy prince and Mary, the love of Blackbeard's life, fell in love. When Blackbeard discovered them, the prince took human form and sacrificed himself to rescue Mary, as fairies can live as humans for only 1 day. Mary was forced to hide their son Peter in the other world and seek shelter in the fairy kingdom. As half-fairy, Peter has the ability to fly but is unable to do so because of his lack of faith. After listening to this tale, Peter becomes ragged and wants a revenge on Blackbeard. Later, we see the manager was walking into the woods, but Blackbeard and his soldiers capture him and try to ask him about Peter. Being fearful of Blackbeard, manager betrays the natives' location. After it, Blackbeard along with his soldiers attacks on tribe. Watching this, the king asks the magician to save Peter and his fellows, because Peter has the powers to end Blackbeard. After it, King is shot by Blackbeard, who reveals that he killed Mary. Peter is hurt to learn that magician lied to him that his mother was still alive. But she explains that he would have walked away from his destiny if he knew the truth. Peter, James and magician escape in a raft to enlist the help of the fairy kingdom, but a giant crocodile attacks Peter while they were passing from the water. Peter is nearly eaten before being rescued by the mermaids. Later, Peter and the magician reaches to their destination. There was a big door and the fairies live on its other side. Blackbeard also arrives there and begins to wait for the coming out of fairies. Later, Peter and the magician also arrive there. As Peter touches the door, it opens magically. Meantime, Blackbeard attacks them. The fairies who live there also attack Blackbeard after being united. In return, the soldiers of Blackbeard also begin fight with fairies. In between the fight, Blackbeard captures Peter and about to kill him, but James strikes his ships with Blackbeard's ship. He loses his control and Peter runs away from there after taking advantage of the situation. Peter comes to a high place and he have to jump to save himself. The magician was fighting bravely with the soldiers of Blackbeard and after defeating each of them, she begins to fight with Blackbeard and James also begins to fight with him after coming there. After a while, Blackbeard throws James down and Peter was also seeing this. He conquers his fears and flies to save James. Peter was also gets shocked to see that he is flying. Later, after rescuing his friend, he sets him in a place where he doesn't have any danger. Peter goes to save that magician, and the fairies were also helping him to do this. After gathering, all the fairies attack Blackbeard. They torment him a lot and he becomes quite afraid. Peter breaks his ship and it begins to fall. Blackbeard also falls down with the ship and he dies on the spot. Later, all the fairies adopt Peter's mother appearance. They tell him while giving his mom's message that, "You'll stay here and protect the fairies." Peter agrees on it and begins to cry because he was seeing his mom for the first time. In the next scene, Peter and his friends return to London to rescue Nibs and the other orphans, who become Peter's crew. Here is the happy ending of the movie.